weeks left until the end of the year. So I'm sure that you are busy in the year-end craziness and you still took some time to join us for the webinar today. So thank you very much. Today's webinar is about unlocking the power of AI with Autodesk, and my colleague Danielle and I are specifically going to have a look at what's now, what's new, and then what's next. For those of you who attended our What's New, What's Next event in Cape Town a couple of weeks ago, this is a repeat of the session that we had there. We had a lot of the attendees asking us, please, can we share the content with some of their colleagues and some of their industry peers? And it's kind of hot off the press, so we thought let's also have a webinar. For those of you who have not met me, my name is Yani Fulyun. I'm one of the directors at Baker Baynes, heading up the eco industry. Through my 10 years at Baker Baynes, I've done a variety of different things, training software, implementing, hosting webinars and so forth. Most people kind of know me as the BIM counselor, more than a BIM consultant, working with my team to help our clients to work together. I oversee most of the construction cloud and common data environment implementations as well. And with me today is Danielle. Danielle, you can tell everyone online more about yourself.
Thank you, Yanni. So for the ones online that don't know me, my name is Danielle Balaram. I also one of the directors at Baker Baynes. I head up the manufacturing, process, energy, and mining segment here at Baker Baynes. I've been within the Autodesk environment or industry for over 14 odd years. I think it's going on 15, similar as Yanni. I think initially starting up from a technical perspective and then moving into more consulting, and of course now looking after the team. So it gives me that experience of not just sales and account management, but more on the technical side as well. Have qualifications in mechanical engineering as well as Autodesk AEC plant manufacturing and data management.
Thanks, Danielle. So this is one of those webinars where we have all of our clients from all of the different industries online today. So it's always nice to see. Now, typically with the Baker Baynes webinars, we don't have safe harbor statements, but in this case, we do have a safe harbor statement. Basically, in short, from an Autodesk point of view, we are showing you a lot of things that's very new, that's still in beta. So Autodesk asks you kindly, as well as Baker Baynes, to don't go and plan your entire future based on what you see today. And also please be aware that some of the things that we're showing today may change in the future. It's not set in stone yet. We're showing you really what the future has to hold, and the future is a little bit uncertain in some cases. But let's get going. Just from an introduction point of view or from an agenda point of view, we're going to do a brief introduction to AI. This is kind of the now. We'll also have a look at the data foundation and the importance of data. And then we'll start talking about the different types of AI, new types of AI that we're seeing emerging, Autodesk AI and its capabilities. And then lastly, we'll end it off by having a look at Agentic AI. And that really is the next and the things that we're most excited about. Throughout this webinar, you'll see different types of icons, and we'll also make sure to point it out so that you know what is now in terms of you already have access to it, it's readily available. Then what is new, so something that's newly released, something that's maybe still in beta phase, and then what is next, what can you expect next year. Now, I think by now it is safe to say that AI is definitely here to stay. We, from a Baker Baynes point of view, host webinars almost monthly. And this webinar definitely had a lot of interest. So whether AI is here to stay or not, it's definitely something that we see people in the industry being very interested in. Now, no special polls today, because I want to make sure that you are all awake and actually paying attention to this webinar. And I want to pose the question of, will AI replace humans in the future? And I'd like you all to find the chat box. We're on Teams. We've been doing Teams since COVID, so you should know where that is. And go and just type in a yes or a no. What do you think? Will AI replace humans in the future? Seeing a bunch of no's. Yes, in many industries. I always wonder, are people very interested in these AI webinars because they want to make sure that their job is still safe in the future? Or is it that they all want to become, superhuman and productive? Thanks, everyone. I mean, keep those responses coming. I'm happy to say that most of you say no, so that is great. Just a little bit of insight from the Autodesk State of Design and Make report. So each year, Autodesk releases their State of Design and Make report, where they interview different industries and business leaders across the globe. Yes, Africa was included in that. And they ask them a couple of questions. And one thing that stood out is specifically around what companies are prioritizing for when it comes to hiring. Like, what are you looking for when it comes to hiring? Is the ability to implement AI. There was an article not too long ago that I saw on LinkedIn that was very interesting about a couple of UNISA students that had some false positives for the use of AI in some of their submissions. And that is when I jumped into the comment section, and it was very, very interesting because a lot of people mentioned to go, you're telling students that they're not allowed to use AI, yet in industry, in employment, employers are looking for individuals who know how to use AI. So that was definitely a very interesting comment section. But 41% of business leaders are actually saying that when they are hiring, they're looking for someone that has the ability to implement AI, a couple of other digital skills, and then also things like data analytics, data mining, data insights. So one of the things here that, in addition to just having these in-house AI skills, it's also very important to have your own digital data well organized. So because the success in AI really lies in your own data, you kind of have to get your own house in order and your own data in order before you can really start embracing AI. So this is what we found from the report. A couple of other interesting little bits and bobs. 92% of the respondents said they are at least using one AI tool. 74 see AI as a way to get ahead in their industry, and 54% do not feel equipped to use AI efficiently. I was at a conference in Morocco a couple of weeks ago, and Daniel, you can remember this guy's name because I can't even give him proper credit at the moment. But there's a couple of statistics that came out that said only about 1.8% of people who use ChatGPT kind of to its full potential. Most of us using AI are barely scratching the surface. But I have to interrupt myself with a quick commercial break, because when we talk artificial intelligence and when we talk AI, we need to also talk about data. Data really is the foundation for AI. We can't talk about AI and machine learning and all of the other things before we understand the data. And Autodesk does have a data strategy. So this is actually also from the State of Design and Make report, where one of the respondents said that the biggest challenge we have in terms of digital transformation is getting our data, or getting the data, into a usable, standardized form so that it looks the same everywhere. Now, I think regardless of what different type of industry you're in, if you're looking at the ISO 19650 or other types of collaborative workflows, getting data that is usable and that is in a format that works for you has always been a challenge. So this is where Autodesk's data plan or data strategy comes in, and they've got 3 steps to the path of data democratization. As firstly, getting granular data, so taking information, breaking it up into files, and breaking those files up into small granular pieces of data, making sure that the data is interoperable, so data interoperability, making sure that the data can move between different applications and different platforms, and then making sure that it's accessible, that the right people have access to the right information or the right data, and that it's usable for them. So that brings me to the Autodesk data model. Now, this is new. We have kind of touched on this in the last couple of years, but this is not something that's been around for a very long time. This is categorized as some of the new technology. Now, if you are thinking data model, or if you're thinking data model, unfortunately, or fortunately, that is not what we are talking about. But to give you a idea, I know that there's a lot of people in this webinar who's probably far smarter than me, and you may already know what a data model is. But I thought, let me go and ask ChatGPT to give a very simplified answer or simplified definition of a data model. So imagine that you have a toy box where you keep all different kinds of toys. So that effectively could be your model or your project. Now, toys have different entities. So your different toys that you want to keep track of, that could be like, these are all of my dolls, these are all of my action figures, my cars, my Lego, whatever the case might be. So those are your entities. And then second are your toy features. So the toys will have a name, a color, different sizes. So each example, like if you have cars, you may have Hot Wheels that are smaller, or you may have Lego cars that are bigger. These are your attributes. And then you've got toy relationships. So that's how different things are connected. So perhaps, you know, you have a car, but it's a Barbie car. So that toy is actually connected to your dolls. And these are the relationships. And effectively, this is the same thing that happens within a data model. As the data model is like a plan or a drawing that helps you see all of your toys, their features, and how they relate to each other. So it'll help you organize everything and understand how everything fits together. So think of a model that's broken up into pieces, and you can visualize it in a different way. Now, the Autodesk data model sits on top of Autodesk Platform Services. That's the API. And then there's different, I was going to say, like hero applications in the different industries. We're not going to talk about flow too much today because that is the media and entertainment data model. But let's have a look at the data model specific to manufacturing. Daniel.
Yeah, thank you, Yanni. So as Yanni mentioned, the platform which Autodesk categorizes them and the manufacturing platform specifically is known as the Fusion platform. And this is looking at all the Fusion applications, but also giving you the ability to break the silos, right? So some of the core portfolios, apart from the Fusion applications that's there, are made up by Inventor Professional, Vault Professional, as an example, PowerMill, FeatureCam, Power Inspect, and Power Shape. And this gives you the ability to actually have your data synchronized across these platforms or these applications. If we go deeper into it and understand what the data model does for you, you can explore design data, right? So you can look at certain things like parts or drawings and not having the complete data come across. The idea is to extract key details, such as materials, metadata like names and properties of a file. You can also export and share files. So sharing files like in step format or STL or OBJ directly from the application via the data model. And of course, automation of tasks is the big thing as well. So, you know, how much time do we spend setting up projects, as an example? And of course, there's always a space for custom data, which is things like supplier information and part details.
Cool, thanks, Daniel. So similar to the manufacturing data model, the AEC data model, again, built on top of platform services. Fusion is one of the core Fusion. That's manufacturing's core. Forma is one of the core applications there. And then also Construction Cloud, Revit, Tandem, AutoCAD, Civil 3D. All of these different applications are very well linked. They read from the central information on Autodesk Construction Cloud. And really similar to what we've seen with Daniel's example is, imagine you wanted a banana, but really what you got is the gorilla holding the banana and the entire jungle. Now, this is often what happens when we share data with each other, is you just wanted the width of the door, but what you actually got was a hospital holding the door and the entire Revit application. When you share information back and forth between the professional team on projects, oftentimes there's only bits of information that you need. So effectively what the data model does is it takes your project will exist of many different models and file formats, and it breaks that up into granular data so that you can access the data that you need when you need it. Also makes it a lot easier to not to have to go and look for something, to not download a file, open the file and go and look in that. So now that we've got these data models, and these data models allow us to have access to granular data that's interoperable, what can we start doing with that? And that is the data exchange. So again, the data exchange is also new. So the Autodesk Data Exchange operates in an ecosystem. I like sharing this because you will notice that everything on that image to the left is not all Autodesk. Data needs to also flow between SolidWorks and Autodesk applications, or Rhino, or Techna, or Power BI, or Power Automate, or a variety of different other applications. So there are a lot of pre-built connectors in the Autodesk App Store. So do go and have a look at the Autodesk App Store. I'll highlight some of these, but you can create and update and manage these exchanges through Autodesk Docs. So here's my Revit model, please break my Revit model down into granular data and put that granular data into another application because I want to do things with that. A good example is actually the Power BI connector. So again, you'll see here through Autodesk Construction Cloud, I get this is within Power BI. I go and get my data, and then all of a sudden I have a model viewer in Power BI, and there's a bunch of different things that you can start doing once you've got the raw data of a model. For example, this is a different way of looking at a building. So depending on what you're analyzing, what you need to get across, who you need to present, this really is a different way of looking at information. And again, if you've got the raw information, you can also start to add different information packs to that. But it goes beyond just doing cool things in Power BI. Imagine you're the one working in Revit, but you're working with someone else who's designing this canopy because they need to go and manufacture this, and you don't want to send your entire Revit model to them every single time. They kind of just need to work on that specific element. So through the data exchange, again, you can kind of crop out a little piece of the model that you want to share with them so that they can go and work on the canopy. And this is bi-directional so that you'll also get the updates. But in the built environment, we often collaborate with our friends and peers in the manufacturing space because someone needs to go and make all of the things that we put in our buildings. Tell us what happens with Inventor, Dee.
So with regards to Inventor, now we know that Inventor is your mechanical tool, predominantly used for in the mechanical environment. However, there is a cross industry aspect that comes to play here. Often you find if you're creating a building, like the example here, the spiral stair that's there, that is a mechanical tool, perhaps made out of metal or wood or whatever it was made out of. That's done in an Inventor environment. And how do I share that information across into the architectural environment, example Revit, for instance? And this is a typical way that you would access granular data via the data connector, and this is from Inventor. So a mechanical engineer would design the stair, share that across via the data connector into Revit. And if there's an update, so it's bi-directional, so if there's an update that needs to happen, either from a Revit perspective or an Inventor side of it, you've got that update syncing across. What's very nice about this, it is version controlled. So you'll be able to see, what version am I working on? Am I working on version 2, version 1, or let's reference the latest version as an example.
Thanks, Steve. So no more downloading something, uploading it back in. It's a direct link for only a specific component. But with that, let's get back into AI. I've finished my commercial break now by telling you all about data. I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to Daniel to get us back on track so that we can talk about AI, the reason why you're all here.
Thank you, Yanni. I just want to try and get this up to share. Okay.
Yes, Daniel, I can see it. You're good to go.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So back to AI, right? So let's have a look and see what is on offer. But before we get too deep into AI, let's try and understand the types of AI that we're working with, right? So initially, I'm sure everyone's aware of the first one, which was machine learning. And this looked at a subset of AI. But I think for me, it was one of the first things that we heard of from an AI. Machine learning was the thing, right? And this had the ability to learn and make decisions based off data sets that was given. to it. So that was your first level of AI. If we look further into that, that became deep learning, where it uses machine learning algorithms, but it also looks at artificial neural networks to focus deeper into models to solve complex algorithms. So that was the second step that we've seen. Following to that, we saw generative AI. Now, generative AI is not to be confused with generative design because they're two different things. However, generative AI is something that we are seeing a lot of nowadays. A typical example of generative AI would be a subset of ChatGPT as an example. Now, just out of interest, ChatGPT, does anybody know what the GPT stands for in ChatGPT? No? You can put it in the chat
Tell
box
us,
if you do.
Daniel. I don't know. I've forgotten. You told me
so
like 2 weeks ago.
It basically stands for generative pre-trained transformer, right? So the generative side of it allows you to create things like stories, answers, or jokes. You know, are you giving a speech? Create me a joke about a wedding, for example, right? Pre-trained means that it's already trained by reading a whole lot of stuff, like books and websites and articles that we would look at, and of course, transform is the intelligence side of it. So this is where the smart brain or model that's there is used to understand the words or figure out best answers for you. Now we find that interesting side note here. I've heard someone say that ChatGPT is actually the new Google, which is true. I mean, we've seen a lot of people now using it to Google stuff that they would previously Google before, right? And then finally, we're seeing generative design. Now, generative design is something that's been around for many, many years. Those that are familiar with it from a fusion perspective, and I think in Revit as well, there's some developments with generative design as well. So not necessarily using AI, but what it's doing is you giving it inputs and you asking it for results, and it gives you multiple variations of that results, right? So you give it goals like strength, cost, or size, and you give it some constraints like what type of materials we're going to work with, dimensions, and you get outputs pulled out from that. Now, that's very important that we understand the types of AI, but let's look at the hierarchy of it. And this becomes really interesting because this forms the backbone of the Autodesk AI. Now, firstly is your LLMs, which is large language models, right? And of course, visual reasoning. So these are tools like your co-pilots, your ChatGPTs, where you put in information, you get some information back, and it does that via a language model. Following on to that is your second tier or your second level, which looks at two areas, right? So one is your spatial and physical reasoning, and one is the industry specific. Now, this is very, very critical because this is where you see some really, really intelligent AI coming into play. Spatial and physical could look at things like how do I fit a specific object through a door into a room when the door is smaller than the object that I'm putting in, right? As an example. Industry specific would be giving me industry feedback of what I'm doing. So, an aircraft wing, for example, if you're designing an aircraft wing, why would you use mild steel? There's, it's industry knowledge knows that it's aircraft grade aluminium, as an example. So, you get feedback based on that, which becomes really, really clever, and you can do a lot with the AI that you have. And then finally, it's company reasoning. So this is where at the top of the pyramid, you find that AI models are fine-tuned to company data. What does it mean? It means that if I'm conducting a project, or I've done a project 10 years ago, and this is where Yanni's chat about data to play. So if I'm looking through my company data and I want to find out, we've done a plant out in the DRC 10 years ago. How much of hazardous material was used? How much of specific material was used, like steel? What's the tonnage of steel that was used? Or what was the flow rate of the pipe of water effluent at the time? So it's things like that we can get data on the basis of our fingertips. So just by putting in prompts, we can get information back. So understanding the hierarchy of the data model gives us insight into what Autodesk is doing with AI. However, interesting stat, in 2000s, we found that, if we look at the scale, the human was actually doing 65% of the work and machines were carrying out the balance of that, right? The balance 35. Forward that on to sort of 2025, we're seeing that humans, it's kind of balanced, right? This is at the beginning of 2025. It's kind of balanced because now the capacity of humans has risen and the machine usage has gone up. And does it mean it's lost work? Well, not necessarily, because what we're seeing later in 2025 is that that's not lost work. That's actually more capacity because you're pushing out a lot of more repetitive tasks to the application itself or the computer to do for you, giving you more time to actually focus on what matters, your design work, or it could be any of the engineering work that you're doing. Now, with that, we'd like to introduce to you, if you haven't seen it before, some which was launched last year at Autodesk University, but enhanced this year, something called Autodesk AI. Now, what is Autodesk AI? It's not a term that is a blanket statement. It's an umbrella term, right? So it's not a single product or technology, or it's not something that you can go and buy. Can I buy Autodesk AI? No, that's not part of it. What it is a tool or feature that is embedded into 40 different products and features within the Autodesk applications. So where does it start? Firstly, we've seen this in AutoCAD in the past couple of years. I think one was the markup and assist. One was a smart block creation that was there already, right? We've seen it last year in Fusion with the auto constraint function. We've seen the Autodesk Assistant that allowed us to type in some prompts and get information on the AEC side of it. We've seen it also in Construction Cloud, as well as in Revit Generative Design, but also on the media and entertainment side of it with Motion Maker. So what does it look like and what is it? So firstly, it's automation. So it removes the tedious, repetitive tasks that you would generally need to do in an AutoCAD perspective, or you would see it in the block creation. So it would automate block creation for you. Augmentation. So this is looking at how do we augment and create problem-solving capabilities within the teams. Can we get more creative? And how can we improve accuracy of what we're doing? But finally, it looks at analysis. So sometimes when we faced with some overwhelming tasks, some complex data, how could AI help us get over it? Now, if you want to understand more of that, we've created an ebook earlier this year. I think, Yanni, if not mistaken, February, that this ebook was released. So this is your first ebook that gave you a lot of insight into what Autodesk AI was actually doing. However, if we get further into it, you'll find that AI is not something that Autodesk thought about 2 years ago and created a product, right? There's a history that they have, and really, really impressive. So firstly, in 2009, it was the first publication of generative design that came out. And I think at the time, it was more focused towards the fusion and the manufacturing sectors. Following to that, in 2018, Autodesk established the AI lab that was used for, again, generative design, AI testing, running through multiple scenarios and working with AI. 2019, they launched the Construction IQ as a preview. So there was a lot more information coming across on AI results from there. How do we make it better? How do we add it to the products? And then in 2022, it was the 3D shapes data sets that was published. And this was part of a project that was released that looked at CAD geometry and what AI does to it. And in 2024, this is where at Autodesk University, 2024, Autodesk launched something called Project Bernini that looked at, or announced Project Bernini that looked at generative AI and how does that impact how we model and how we work. So really, really interesting history and journey behind it. Subsequent to that, we find that Autodesk is, since 2009, they published over 90 AI research papers, and these are all peer-reviewed papers and journal articles. So you know that it is credible information that you're reading, but also makes them the world's largest publisher of AI research in CAD geometry. So really cool. One of the things that we find in conversations with clients about AI is the trust factor, right? So I'm sure you're thinking, thinking about, do I trust this AI? Do I put my data in somewhere and where does it go? It's on everyone's mind. Fortunately, from an Autodesk perspective, there is a transparency card for the applications with AI at the moment. So example would be AutoCAD would have its own transparency card. Fusion for the auto constraints has its own transparency card, and Revit has its own transparency card as well. Good thing to note is you can switch the use of data off or on, right? So you can turn off, an example highlighted here, the choice format. This is where you would switch it off if you don't want information coming across. User direct features that may look at personal data or data sources, that could be turned off as well, right? So there is a aspect or layer of trust from an Autodesk perspective on this. And I think that is encompassed in the mission that Autodesk has about AI. So it's seen as a trusted technology partner for the design and make worldwide, but also Autodesk has a mandate to harness the power of AI on behalf of customers and doing so in a responsible manner. Okay. So let's get into it in more detail. Let's look at generative AI. We spoke about the GPTs and the generation of AI, but let's have a look at this in a little bit more of a detailed perspective. So in here, we find that in generative AI technologies, we've got generative design, as you can see on the picture on the left, which is, you put in inputs, put in constraints, and it gives you back results. You choose the best one and you manufacture and work from there. Generative AI, on the other hand, is slightly different because this now starts looking at what am I outputting with just a command or prompt? How do I give out feedback or information from there? And if we go deeper into that, we see that there's imprinting, which is done by, I think it was Adobe that made this quite famous, where you'd put in information and you say, okay, fix up that image and give me an image back. And then following is your text prompt generation. So I prompt in the text, give me a old warrior chief tribal member, with red side and funny looking pictures, and it gives you information. Very similar, you could type in a prompt and say, this is for give me something like a bracket in a mechanical environment, and it would give you renders of that. The sketch prompt generation was the next one, where you would say, give me a sketch, or you upload a sketch to it, and it gives you information based off that. Very similar on the right-hand side as well. And then, of course, there's an image to plan, which also was very nice because I would upload an image and say, give me, in this example, give me meal ideas based on what I have in my fridge. Or I can see that there's a problem here with this exposed pipe, write me a report on it. So those are things that we can do with generative AI. However, as mentioned earlier, this is new as well. So Autodesk announced Project Banini last year. What did Project Banini do? So firstly, it looked at two things. One was a 2D input, and then a 3D model output that came out of it. It was a prompt system where you could say, let me put an input of a chair, and it gave you out a chair, very similar to what you're seeing on screen. Just a bit more info from it. What this looked like was, from a video perspective, as you can see, there's a chair on the left-hand side. It's giving me outputs. I can start looking at it. I can work with it. What's cool on the right-hand side is I've got a little hand sketch of a house, generate me a house with different features, or like just the shape of it. So it gives me an idea. I could update that idea. I could add in, a bit of text to it, or I could add in more information, and it would have given me an update to it. As we can see on the right-hand side, it's sketching again. We're creating a bit of extra pieces to it, add a door to it. What would it generate for me? So this is part of your whole generative AI side of it, right? Which was really, really cool. And that was launched last year already. But as we get further into it, this is where it becomes really, really interesting, because this is where we see the concept of agentic AI in the Autodesk Assistant. We spoke about the Autodesk Assistant earlier on, but the new releases or new version of it is now agentic, right? And just to give you a bit of context into what that looks like, I'm going to share my screen again. Sorry, that stopped sharing. To give you a bit more context into that, I'm going to share the next video so you can see it live.
AI is changing how we work. It's supercharging our creativity. boosting our efficiency. And now, it's doing things for us. As AI moves into the agentic era, we've built a trusted partner to help you work smarter. Meet the next generation of Autodesk Assistant, powered by Autodesk AI. At Autodesk, we build the tools that help the world design and make anything. Assistant lives where you already work. It understands your context, helps solve problems faster, and brings the power of AI into the flow of your project. Not because it looks impressive, because it assists on getting real work done. Need clarity? Assistant surfaces the insight before you even ask. Facing a deadline? Assistant clears the noise so you can focus on the priorities. Looking to reduce risk or waste? Assistant helps you find a better path. This isn't automation for its own sake. This is intelligence that works with you, learns from you, and gets out of your way when you're in flow. So engineers can make smarter products. Contractors can minimize risk in real time. And artists can create without friction to deliver faster. Together, we're changing what's possible and what's expected. In the Agentic AI era, Autodesk Assistant will help you design and make anything.
So really exciting, agentic AI. So what is it, or what is the agentic reality? So first we look at it as a tool across platforms. It integrates into tools like AutoCAD, Revit, Fusion, as well as the construction cloud platforms at the moment. It's a 4-tier AI reasoning framework. So the hierarchy that we spoke about earlier on, that's the backbone of it. But also there's an aspect of agentic AI and neural CAD. Which enables real-time task and execution that we'll show you in a little bit. But also it's human-centered, so allowing designers to actually vocalize their thoughts, if we can put it that way, and prompt into intuitive workflows. So what does it look like? Let's get deeper into it. So let's understand the concept of it. So the agentic AI characteristics here, firstly, agentic AI is proactively understanding the intent that you put into it. So things like plans, executes work on workflows and tasks autonomously across all of your systems that you would have, right? So it also acts as an assistant in the role that it's there. So, you could type in a prompt and say, I need reports based off this design that I'm doing, or generate documentation, or give me information, metadata of the project that I'm working with. It also has quite an industry impact that enhances areas of industry like construction, manufacturing, as well as architecture. But also there's a future vision of this technology that comes with it, because it's powered by secure protocols and it allows AI to work in a natural language interaction, which makes it seamless to interact with humans. So how does this work and where does it go? Let's find out what it looks like from a construction cloud perspective. So Yanni.
Thanks, Dee. You can go next slide. Let's see what this looks like in action. This is from Autodesk University that happened about a month ago.
And there comes the... Now Luca says, find all the stairs and railings. And he gets a preview of that, and it prompts Luca to save it as a data exchange in one of the folders. In seconds, the assistant extracts those elements, saves them in a submittal folder, and shares that automatically with the right partners. The stair manufacturer now opens the exchange directly in Inventor. The cost estimator analyzes the same data via the exchange in Power BI. No plugins, no messy exports, no endless emails. Luca feels good about the progress that his team has made in locking down the manufacturer and the cost for his hospital design. Now here comes the big task of passing the compliance check. And now Luca is stressed. He must ensure that every door, every window, and handrail meets these compliance standards. So normally these checks would take weeks of tedious effort and across multiple teams and tools. But today, Luca simply asks the assistant, run the compliance checks across the models in my project. In seconds, assistant scans all the models. It flags the non-compliant issues like door clearance, ramp slopes, van access parking, and God knows what, but notifies and assigns each issue to the right design owner. No emails, no spreadsheet. Now Sam identifies the door with the issue and then asks the assistant to change the door type. And the assistant carries out the instruction and then asks Sam whether he wants to close the issue. When Sam asks it to close, it's done, it's taken care of. What used to take many, many manual steps now happens in 3 simple prompts. The result, Autodesk Assistant created one intelligent connected workflow, automating unnecessary steps, while checking with Luca and Sam, the experts who know how to get the job done.
Thanks, Dee. You can go next slide.
Hospital designers.
So this is the concept of the assistant has been around for a little bit, but in terms of what really is new is how it integrates into Construction Cloud and what you've seen from this video in terms of then the data connector and the data exchange. Now, whilst the agentic assistant can't make you coffee yet, it can definitely automatically assign submittals, make sure that the correct data is sent to specific people, help create those issues, help create those compliance checks. Now, apart from the Autodesk Assistant that predominantly in the AEC space is within Construction Cloud, there's also plenty of AI-powered tools in Forma. So whatever type of analysis you're doing, if that's noise analysis, wind analysis, that's all AI-powered within Forma. There's a variety of different things in terms of automation in the structural engineering space through Revit and Dynamo. There's a bunch of other safely predicting floods and different analysis in the water engineering space, like the deluge tool and info drainage that's based on machine learning and Autodesk AI. And then just this has been around for a while, but if you think about something like Construction IQ as part of Construction's Cloud AI functionality that helps to identify risk and then really start to automate some of those tasks and follow up afterwards. So that's just a little bit of an idea around how Autodesk AI is playing a role in the AEC space.
Thank you, Yanni. And I think from a design and manufacturing space of it, we've got a bit of AI as well that's here. So let's get into that. So the first side of it is, of course, AI enhanced workflows. So for the guys that have used, Fusion's automated sketch constraints to streamline processes and streamline my design time, that's been around, but it's been enhanced a lot more with the new features. But there's also something called neural CAD capabilities, which I think is amazing in the manufacturing environment, and we'll get into it shortly. But there's also areas of intelligent manufacturing automations, like drawing automation and CAM assistant, where the AI programs your CAM parts, so you only do it once. And it's things like that, which is really, really shaping the way we design and make in that area. But of course, generative design has always been around, so there's also a bit of enhancements that's coming to that. Now, Yanni showed a video on Autodesk University from a construction cloud perspective and the AEC side of it. Let's look at what Autodesk University showed us from manufacturing. So first of it was Agentic AI. Let's get into this very quickly.
You have been working on AI in Fusion for a long time.
Yes, since the days before ChatGPT.
Oh, the olden days.
The olden days.
Okay. All right. So what can you show us about what we can do with the assistant inside of Fusion.
Yeah, I'm really excited to show you where we're at in our journey now. So are you ready to join the air fryer project?
I'm ready for the air fryer.
Okay, well, step one, we have to add you to our project.
You just hit play there again? Just paused.
So setting up
there you
accounts
go.
can be kind of complex, but with the Autodesk Assistant, it's easy. I can start with a single prompt. So I'm going to tell the assistant that I'd like to add someone to the air fryer project. And here it helps explain to me what to do next. So now I can share your name, Andrew Anig Nost, and I get to pick what role to give you. Let's put you to work. How do you feel about being an editor on this air fryer?
You mean I can change things?
You can change things.
Sounds a little risky.
Let's do it. We're bold.
All right.
As an editor.
Okay.
And in just a sec, there we go. Invitation sent. You are now an editor on our project.
Now, fabulous. Now, I've used Fusion many times. It's kind of a pain, honestly, to add everyone to your team. So this is pretty amazing.
Yeah, you don't even have to leave the context of what you're doing. You're in the middle of what you're up to. You can stay in the same context, do what you need to do, and go right back to designing.
Fabulous. Okay. Anything else?
Well, and because Fusion keeps a history of changes, I can keep an eye on any of your edits and make sure that you're not doing anything you shouldn't be.
That's a good idea in case you have to reconsider those editor privileges.
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Okay, so that looked at what the Agentic AI looked like, and it was just a quick prompt adding someone to a project. And I think, as you heard on screen, it used to be a tedious task, and now it's really, really quick. The next side is generative AI and neural CAD capabilities. Now, neural CAD is something really, really new, and it uses quite a bit of technology that's new as well to actually create it. So have a look at this, and let's see what it does for us.
About generative AI and Fusion.
Well, so here we have a blank sheet of paper.
The hardest problem that you have to start with in your career.
Yes, so I'm hoping that generative AI can help give us a starting point to work on for this air fryer. So I will use Autodesk Assistant to call our generative AI tools and get some assistance on a starting point.
You're literally asking it to generate an air fryer.
Yes, I've asked it to generate the air fryer, and now you can watch it going. So here you can really see...
It's like infotainment.
Yeah, you can watch kind of how the model is working. This is how the model thinks about shapes and air fryers. So you can kind of see various edges are coming in and surfaces. It's getting some details. So you got, your little feet, keep it off the countertop. You got a handle coming in.
Yeah, look at
that.
So,
yeah, editor, how do you feel about how this
Pretty amazing. Your blank sheet problem just got solved.
It did.
So now you have something to start ideating with.
Exactly. And are you happy with the shape? I'm happy with it.
It looks good to me.
Okay, so I can hit OK. And now it gets brought into Fusion as a standard CAD format. And so this is now the kind of CAD used in any sort of engineering applications, which means that we can do downstream edits. So we can do something like splitting and shelling.
So this is fully editable CAD geometry. Now, nothing else in the world does that.
Yes, this full workflow is unique for us.
Okay, so you can change the fillets. You can move the lines around and it'll update. It's the real deal.
It is the real deal. So it's a first-class citizen. You can edit whatever you want. You can do other downstream applications. You can manufacture anything else that you would normally do with a model you made by hand. You can do here.
Blank slate filled with real editable data.
Yeah, we went from blank slate, prompt, CAD, real world.
Okay.
So I think that was really, really cool from a generative AI perspective. Let's look at the next side of Fusion, which is the AI auto constraints.
Daniel. All right, Daniel. You've been part of the Fusion team for as long as I can remember. You've seen its evolution. What have we got that's going to excite our engineering users?
Yeah, we've got two really great enhancements, the first of which is in the sketch environment. So last year, we delivered AI-based sketch auto constraints. And since then, it's automatically generated millions of constraints and dimensions for you.
And people are accepting those answers at higher and higher rates. Pretty impressive numbers, by the way.
That's right. And soon, it's going to get even better. So notice in the sketch, I have a gap here.
Bad.
Hard to find.
Sketch gaps are not good.
Hard to close. But soon, Autodesk AI is going to get even smarter and fix these types of errors for me. So here, I can select a prompt that's automatically going to fix this for me, close the gaps, still have all my dimensions and all my constraints, and hit OK. And so now I'm going to finish the sketch. It's looking good, and the handle is complete.
All right, fabulous.
All right, the next enhancement is in the assembly area. So positioning geometry in 3D space is more difficult than it needs to be. But coming soon to Fusion, we have the new constraint command. So here you can see I can just take the air fryer base, and I'm going to select a 2 faces here. I'm going to take the basket, because that needs to go into the base, and that's all the information that I need, not only to position it, even though I have draft and clearances for manufacturing. So it's intuitive and easy to use.
So this is something that supplements the joint command in Fusion, and it's also something that I think Fusion users have been asking for.
They've been asking for it. It's their #1 request.
All right. So fabulous. OK. Thank you.
So I think that's really, really cool. So for the users that use Inventor or even Fusion at the moment, knowing that you got a gap in your sketch is always a challenge. I think Inventor, there was something called the Sketch Doctor that you would use to actually detect it. So now AI is doing it for you. So really, really nice. Another really powerful integration that Autodesk announced at Autodesk University was the partnership with Microsoft. So let's hear more about it.
So we have the air fryer design. It is looking really good. But before we move into production, we need to get approval. And for that, we need to create a pitch. And that can
you need to show the upper management, the people that don't understand how it's
exactly. That can be tough. Yeah. It can be hard to get all the assets out of Fusion, copy and paste them, format them into a Microsoft PowerPoint. But here, we're going to leverage the collaboration that we have with Microsoft and access it directly from within Autodesk Assistant to make that process easier. So let me give you some examples of the kinds of things that we can do. So we have the design, and what I want to do is I want to create a couple of different variants to include in the pitch. So first of all, we can see that it's starting out with what we have right now, and I'm going to ask it to do 2 different variants. The one is a material change, so you can see that we have this to be a brushed metal finish in a rose gold color.
Kind of fancy for an air fryer.
This next one is more of a matte gray finish as well. So these are looking good, automatically creating these images for me. But, I want to actually show this in some different environments as well. Where is this going to be used, and how can I showcase that? These are things that we can also ask Autodesk Assistant for. And so here you can see that I'm going to have it to do 2 different versions to show these different environments. And I'm also going to create a black ABS version of this. So here you can see the first example that AI is going to generate for us is a matte black one, but placed in a more modern kitchen on a marble countertop. And then the second is to put it in more of a rustic style kitchen. And here you can see I've actually to put kitchen tools in the background also.
It's that rustic vibe.
The rustic vibe, yes. And so the next step typically would be I'd have to render out all these images, size them appropriately, but AI is going to help us with that.
Cut and paste them in, do all of that work.
Yeah, so now...
You know how much engineers love doing that?
They don't. And the next thing we can see is that I've asked Autodesk Assistant to generate a PowerPoint for me. And now I'm going to open this Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. It's going to analyze my request. You can see it's launching.
We can breathe. It's working.
It's working.
There we go.
And now you can see it's pulled all the information from the design, populated it,
and it's given it like fancy little titles and, taglines.
It's titled it. It pulled in all the product variants that we just asked it to create as well.
Okay, well, that's fabulous. That's a real example of getting rid of tedious work and making engineers a lot more productive. All right.
So really, really cool, right? So there's no need now to actually go in and have engineers create PowerPoints and stuff for you. It's all integrated. So the next bit is the neural CAD, which I thought was really, really cool. And a little funny note here, please pay attention to the presenter's accent, and we can have a chat about it afterward. Where do you think he's from?
Let's see what our neural CAD foundation model for geometry can do. Starting with early conceptual design exploration, Neural CAD is going to transform how we design. First, imagine you're a product designer exploring some early stage product concepts. Most of you have seen how AI image generators can quickly create conceptual images. Now imagine that instead of just an image, you can generate a highly detailed CAD model just as easily. Just enter the prompts or even drawings and let the CAD engine start to produce options for you instantly. Because these are first-class CAD models, you now have a head start in the creation of any new product. Okay, now let's imagine you're a product designer tasked with exploring a new design of a power drill. You start with prompting the software to generate possible shapes of power drills. You can literally watch the Neural CAD engine produce the desired geometry as it reasons through the request. The deep neural networks behind this technology are directly reasoning through the surfaces, the edges, and the topology that would satisfy your request. And it doesn't just produce one model, but several, allowing you to quickly explore the trade-offs between the different options. But the beauty of this AI engine is that it produces first-class editable CAD geometry. So you can immediately begin editing this design. Here's the drill directly in Fusion. No more laborious redesign in different software when moving from conceptual design to design development. But what if you want to focus on something more detailed now and specific? If we want to generate a new handle for this drill, we can select the precise attachment geometry, which Neural CAD will honor. Then we provide a conceptual sketch, which the AI interprets to produce a matching detailed 3D handle aligned correctly. Precision and control combined with expressivity. It's exactly what a designer needs. In this detailed design case, Neural CAD didn't just generate a 3D shape, though. It also generated the history and sequence of Fusion commands required to create it. This means you can make edits as if you modeled it yourself.
So really, really cool Neural CAD capabilities that's coming to Fusion. So I hope you enjoyed what you've seen that was released at Autodesk University in September. To know more about it, to understand more about it, we've written a second ebook, and this is based off the AU Insights, which looks at multiple facets. So it looks at areas of Neural CAD, Agentic AI, the MCPs, the Model Context Protocol servers, and how is that used within these design tools that we have access to. So I think Yanni asked a very pertinent question earlier on, will AI replace humans in future? And a lot of feedback was given. Yanni, I think there are a lot of no's we had. And
it was mostly no's.
Mostly
I want to just quickly, you had asked where's the accent from?
Yeah.
I think someone said South Africa and they got a bunch of thumbs up. That's definitely a South African English accent. And then someone had commented, it's an American accent with an AI South African accent.
So it's American wanting to be a South African.
Yeah. I don't think AI can do South African accents as good yet. No, he's actually
South African. Yeah. So we were fortunate enough to meet him. So it's nice to actually see a South African heading up research and producing technology like what we've just seen. So kudos to all South Africans on that one. Okay, so Yanni, what do you think from the polls or the results that we got back with regards to the question asked? Where was we tipping on the yes or no?
We're tipping on no, luckily. I also think no, but
okay.
What do you think, Dee?
Look, I also think no, but there's a very, very nice quote by Harvard professor Karim Lakiani, and the author of the book Competing in the Age of AI. And he comes with the quote that says, AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI are going to replace humans without. So we'll leave it there. I think from a next perspective, what is your next? And that's a question that Yanni and I are both very interested in finding out. What is your next look like for you? And with that parting thought, we're going to open up for questions. I think we're on the hour, but we can take a few questions.
And I think part of that, what is your next, is also how can we help you? How can we help you
Correct.
to get to what you are planning? Because we'd spoken about what's now, what's new, and then what's coming next.
Jasper, I see
You
you've got your
should be
hand up.
able to unmute yourself. I think so. I will allow Mike. Now we're being brave because now we're this.
How's it?
There you go.
Oh, cool. Thanks, guys. It was great. I love your stuff and your presentations and the real world stuff. The part that was slightly light for me was on the construction side, getting on site, getting dirty with mortar and paper drawings and contractors and whatever. Is there any movement on that side of things? Construction cloud, just simple things like minutes and action sheets. And I know, Copilot and all these things can do a lot of work for you to help with that sort of stuff. And it's all happening, but I'd love to see it dovetailing with what you guys are selling from an Autodesk point of view.
Yes, so there's a bunch of aspects in that space where AI is making big improvements. Also, the assistant, for the most people on this crowd, it's far more exciting to see AI magically put together an air fryer than to see AI put together meeting minutes. So we will get in touch and show you that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think it's, when does it cross over to actually start building the building and putting the non mortar bricks and other things in place? And there's a bit of a gap between this AI stuff and the 3D building, and I think those are not 3D, sorry, 3D printed building. So I'm forgetting to say words.
Cool. We'll definitely get in touch. I see there's another hand up, and I'm going to allow Mike. Our webinar could go rogue now that I'm allowing everyone to speak.
Hi, Danielle. Hi, Yanni.
Hi.
Jeffrey.
I have a question. Is there anything in the pipeline in terms of 3D scan point clouds being converted into fully functional CAD models?
A lot of that's happening already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's more and more bits and bobs of that. I mean, there's technologies like ClearEdge that can already do that. Some of the Leica technologies can do that to a certain extent. I believe that in the Autodesk portfolio, the recap can do it a little bit more. Matterport, I see someone had commented about Matterport. Matterport doesn't really convert the actual geometry exactly to a 3D model. At the moment, ClearEdge is probably the highest quality that you're going to get, but it's definitely like every tool, like every year, it's getting more detailed and more accurate.
Cool. Thank you.
Anyone else want to just unmute and ask us a question? You can also use the chat box or the Q&A box. I think it really doesn't actually matter whether it's the Q&A or the chat box if you want to go and type something. Alternatively, Dee, maybe you can go to the next slide where we've got our contact details.
Yeah, if something doesn't come to you now, you can always pop us an email or reach out, and we'll be happy to spend some time answering the questions that you may have.
There is a question, I think that's best answered by Danielle. It was asked already, but are there any AI improvements for Inventor?
Yes, but not coming in the near future. I think we'll see the AI improvements or the AI functionality coming more in Fusion in the very near future. But there are, from Autodesk University, I sat in the Inventor roadmap class with the product manager, and we did see a lot of AI functionality coming into Inventor, but I doubt it'll be in the next release. But that's safe harbor again. We'll have to wait and see.
Right. A question about AI specific to Civil 3D. There is a bit of an assistant in, I believe, AutoCAD, Revit, and Civil 3D. I think that may still be in beta, so that may not be available yet. I think most of the cool things that we're seeing in Civil 3D and Revit is probably driven by Dynamo. And then we did have a question which probably is a good question is, can you go back to the QR code for the ebook? Let me see if I can find it. You will also receive an email after attending this webinar where we thank you for your time and where we thank you for staying all the way to 5 minutes past, there you go, to 5 minutes past 12. If you do miss this link, or if this is something that you want to pass on to other people, that will also be in the mailer. This ebook goes into a lot more detail around the different types of AI, neural CAD, MCPs, all of those different types of things. So it's quite technical. Is there anything for Revit similar to closing profile draw for the example you showed in Inventor? Not that I'm aware of, but also things change so quickly that there may be. Come next year, most likely. Great. Daniel, should we wrap things up?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, firstly, Yanni, for a great presentation, and thank you, everyone, for the questions and joining us. If there's any questions that you may have following this and you want to spark up a discussion, please reach out. Feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to assist in that way.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend.
Cheers,